Welcome to Sarpy Outlook, dedicated to promoting democratic values from an issue-based perspective. However, this season we are focusing on our candidates who keep those values and those perspectives by running for office. Today, our guest is Lisa Fricke. Oh, and I didn't say who I was. I'm Marta Nieves, and it's a pleasure to welcome Lisa Fricke, who is running for the Nebraska State Board of Education, District 2.
Well, thank you for having me here. It allows me to get my message out to the voters, so thank you.
Great, you're welcome. I see that you have been a teacher in Nebraska schools for 36 years.
A long, long time.
Yeah, and as I read, I learned that as an educator, you have served as a master teacher mentor for the Intergenerational Mentoring Program. Lisa has also helped develop NISA assessments for reading, writing, and special education, and those are the Nebraska state assessments. She was a gubernatorial appointee to the Special Education Accountability Committee for 3 years. She has also served on several school improvement external visitation teams. Wow, you have been involved in many aspects of education in all your years. So
it's been a good ride.
Yes. Well, you're still smiling, so I think that's a good sign. That's a good sign. I noticed that District 2 is a very large geographic area. Could you tell us about what that's size-wise?
Sure, it is huge. So imagine where you live.
Okay.
Okay. And if you're south of Harrison, from Gretna to 84th Street, if you're south of Harrison there, then on the east side of 84th, the boundary dips down to Cornhusker over to the river. And then if you're north of Harrison, it's from 120th, about where the interstate exchange is on Harrison, 120th to 180th, clear up to Blondo. So it's really, really huge. But I decided to run for State Board of Education because I believe in kids. I love kids. I love public school education because it gives an opportunity for all children to be successful. And I want to be a part of that.
That's wonderful. You have talked about a lot of voters in the district. What seem to be their concerns at this point?
That's true. One of the things that I really wanted to find out, even though I can't do anything as a state board member individually, I just wanted to get to know what the concerns and ideas were in the district. And when I talked to people, early childhood was a big issue. Excessive testing, but that's going to be changing. We even had some people want better pay for teachers, and I'm all for that. Mental health was a serious issue that several people talked about, and also career education. So those are the main ones that were being repeated as I talked to people. There were others, but those were the main ones.
That's really interesting. You know, one of the things, too, is that there is a worry about charter schools. Did you get a chance to maybe visit about that?
Well, yes. And the people that I talk to don't want charter schools in Nebraska. It's my understanding that charter schools, they will take the student, into the charter school, and our tax dollars, our state tax dollars, follow that student.
Oh.
And so then you get them into the charter school, and they have no school board, like the public schools do, to kind of coordinate things for that school. And plus, from my understanding also, that they're mainly owned by corporations. So our state tax dollars going to charter schools, and then corporations investing in them. I'd rather invest in our public school students rather than invest in a corporation indirectly by having our tax dollars go there. And then some charter schools are for profit. So I think just like we didn't accept the Common Core and it was good for the state, I don't think we want to accept charter schools in Nebraska because things could happen that are unintentional and would not be good for public schools.
It sounds like if they don't have a school board or a body that oversees or that is that they're going to be accountable to,
that
would be a problem.
Accountability, because charter schools do not have to follow the school mandates of the State Board of Education, or so it's really important, I think, that we just concentrate on keeping our public schools strong.
Okay. Another area is the learning community. I understand that it has had its critics, but that recently there was a bill passed in the legislature that addressed some of the concerns.
Right. It was LB 1067, and I talked to 5 different superintendents within my district too, and 11 of them, that's the whole learning community superintendents, got together a couple years ago and offered some suggestions to make it more effective. And one of their main concerns was that common levy. And to give you an example, in speaking with Superintendent Richards from Springfield, they lost $3.2 million. So the way it was initiated, no school was supposed to have that drastic loss of money. And so Kate Sullivan created LB 1067, which included part of what Senator Baker had in 903, the superintendent's recommendations. It took away the common levy, and I think that it's going to be good because there's also some transition money there to help the schools over this change, so nobody's losing any extreme amounts of money. And what I was really impressed with, I went to the hearing on 1067, and there were 9 superintendents lined up in the front row of the hearing, and the committee was in front of them, and each one of them got up there and talked about not only their school district, but taking care of all students, in the state, that we need to make sure that poverty children have what they need. And so they're willing to give up a portion of their levy money to go to the poverty schools in the Omaha area. And that's the kind of collaboration we need throughout the state. And administrators, teachers, parents, getting more parents on board. And it's just a really powerful thing to collaborate for kids.
Absolutely. And it sounds like all the people that you were listening to, they really had the child's interest in mind.
Exactly.
And that's where the focus needs to be in education.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The No Child Left Behind, I heard you the other day talking a little bit about that, how the federal change to No Child Left Behind was a good thing. So tell us about that.
It took a long time to reauthorize, and it finally was December 10th in 2015. And before No Child Left Behind, we might have had 6 or 7 assessments a year for kids to figure out where we needed to help them. When No Child Left Behind was enacted, it was more like from 15 to 17 tests.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a done deal. So we have the, what they call ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. And I think it's going to be better for Nebraska because the state and the local districts get to decide what kind of assessments that we have for our students. And I think we need to be very careful with that so that there's no way a resemblance to No Child Left Behind assessments or punishments for schools. It needs to be that collaborative effort, positive direction, and assistance wherever needed throughout the state. And I think by having the state and the local work together, that it's going to be a better deal.
Sounds great. In reading your bio, I see that you have long-time roots in Nebraska. Do you want to tell us about that?
Oh, yeah, I'm a Cornhusker fan for sure. I was a graduate of Bellevue East, and also went back to teach in Bellevue. And my dad was in the U.S. Air Force for almost 30 years. Wow. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about my parents. My dad was the kind of guy, I'll never forget this, he said when I was probably between 8 and 10, he said, if you're going to plant a shade tree, plant a fruit tree. That way, you not only have your shade, but you have something to share with your friends and your neighbors. And my mom was kind of the peacemaker in the family and the great cook, and she just taught us to share. And if you came to our house, she shared food. And if you left hungry, it was your own fault. So I just appreciate my parents because they taught us to be kind and to be respectful. And I think respect is the key to getting strong public schools.
That's wonderful. Well said. It's been a pleasure visiting with you about your run for the State Board of Education. And I wonder if you have some final thoughts you want to share with the listeners and the ones who are watching.
Sure. I just want to let people know, as I was talking to the superintendents in the district, one of the concerns that they had was that we need to keep telling the great stories of what's happening in our Nebraska public schools. I love the logo, I love public schools. There are a lot of great commercials on TV, and it just gives you a warm feeling of pride in our public schools when you hear these stories. So the superintendents want more of those stories shared with the public, and they want more parental involvement. One of the best things you can do for your child is get them involved in their education and working with the schools so that the child has a partnership between the school and home so that they can be successful in life.
That's great, especially now with all the increase in diversity that is going on in our schools across the state. And I know you taught quite a bit of your years in Lexington, which was a very diverse.
My last 9 years were there, and it was a challenge, but I loved it. And they had a way of getting the parents to the school and giving them what they needed when they rolled out technology. The students couldn't get the computers until the parents came or grandparents came to have a training on it, and they had training for the students as well. But it's just important that we keep Nebraska schools strong for all students throughout the entire state. And I'd like to leave you with the thought of marking my name, Lisa Fricke, for State Board of Education on your ballot May 10th. And if you want to learn more about me, please go to my Facebook page, Lisa Fricke for State School Board, or my webpage, which is lisafricke.com. And, all of us who are candidates need money, and there's a donate button on that webpage, and I sure would appreciate your assistance. But strong schools equals strong kids and success for them. And it just makes us a better community, better state, better country when our kids can be successful.
Well said. Thank you so much, Lisa. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure.